Andrea Adelson, we talked yesterday. Let me give the full background for those of you that didn't hear yesterday. Yesterday there was news breaking that the lawsuits that have been going on between Clemson and Florida State on one side and the ACC on the other were being settled, right? And these are taking place across multiple different states. Lawyer fees through the roof. They've been going on for a while now. All the lawsuits were being settled, and the details are starting to stem out a little more. Andrea Adelson, ESPN reporter, who I do believe we expect to have on the show tomorrow to help us sort through this even further.
That's correct.
Tweeted this out earlier today. More details emerging from settlement between ACC, FSU, and Clemson via sources. Exit fee is expected to drop by $18 million each year through 2029-2030. After that, exit fee drops to $75 million, and any exiting team will retain its media rights. I'm going to read that last part one more time because it infuriates me. Any exiting team will retain its media rights. Starting after the 2029-2030 school year, $75 million gets you a pat on the back and a no-strings-attached departure from the ACC. I don't want to be doom and gloom. I try to be optimistic. The joke is, my name is right there in the middle. Optimistic. I try. I don't know how to do that right now. 2030 feels like a death date for the ACC as we know and love it. $75 million is a lot of money, don't get me wrong. Right? Okay, heck, $75,000 is a lot of money. But if you give a team like Florida State, a program like Clemson, a program like UNC, a program like Miami, 4.5 years to raise cash, they'll come up with $75 million if they want out bad enough and if they have a place they want to go bad enough. Now, here's what's going to happen over the next 4 or 5 years. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to decide which ACC teams they want. And they're just going to take them. Because by that point, one single year of media payouts for the SEC or the Big Ten will be more than $75 million. So you will get your exit fee back within a year from your new conference. I am quaking in my boots. I am terrified for what that means for the ACC. And for those of you out there saying, no, the ACC has too much history, it's too storied, there's no way the ACC will be destroyed like that. Do you want to invest in the Big East right now? What about the Pac-12? Both of those conferences at different points in history, you could argue were the premier conference in college sports. Now they're like really cool subjects for documentaries about how it used to be. David Hale, also of ESPN, did a lot of the reporting with Andrea Adelson. Continued the tweet. Clemson's athletic director confirms, as Andrea Adelson reported, that exit fees are $165 million next year, then decrease $18 million per year before arriving at a floor of $75 million with media rights intact on your way out. Remember, David Hale adds, Florida State lawyers suggested the prior exit would be $700 million plus. So the ACC gave up so much in this settlement that the exit fee went from darn near $750 million to as soon as everybody agrees, as soon as everybody confirms the settlement as it stands right now, you can leave for $165 million. Now, again, $165 million is a ton of money, but compared to $700+ million, it was the thing I championed. This grant of rights seemed airtight. You want to leave? Cool. Give $700 million and bounce. It was airtight. Florida State and Clemson have been challenging it in court for not a month, not like one court case, for a long time, and they couldn't find the loophole. And then the ACC said, hey, as long as we don't have to keep spending lawyer fees, we'll give you the loophole. We'll open it up. We've got this fence around the ACC that no one can leave. We'll give you the key to the gate as long as we don't have to keep spending these lawyer fees. I don't get it. I don't know what the ACC got. And for those of you saying stability over the next 5 years, I don't know if you do. I'm not 100% sure Florida State doesn't have $165 million already streaming in. Because if they were planning on doing their best to get out and they thought the price was $700 million, maybe they're up to 130 already. And I'll tell you right now, right? Deadlines get deals done. Hey, we're close, actually. That's how you fundraise, right? We just need this much to get to this level. Not to mention everything we talked about yesterday with the disproportionate distribution of media deals in the ACC now, right? The media money, while these teams are in the ACC, the media money will give more to the teams with the better TV ratings, which creates this self-fulfilling prophecy, this conveyor belt in which the have-nots will never be able to compete again. And Florida State and Clemson and the haves, the ones that are going to get all the extra money because their TV ratings are high, they don't realize how much that's going to hurt. What happened to Florida State 2 years ago? They went undefeated and weren't in the top 4 in the country in CFP rankings. Why? Because the ACC was seen as such a bad conference, right? The reputation had gotten so bad. And I didn't feel bad for them. Do you know why? Because they were saying the ACC was bad and all of their lawsuits and everything that they were hurling at the ACC. But guess what? If you start giving less and less and less money to the other teams in the ACC, they're not going to be good. So when you beat them, you're not going to get credit. Everything about this is bad for the future health of the Atlantic Coast Conference. And again, I'm trying not to be doom and gloom, and I'm open to arguments. If you think it's good for the ACC, tweet it at me at Donnelly Sports, DONNELLYSPORTS on I guess X rather than Twitter. I'm looking for the silver lining, and I just can't find it. You know, I've done the nostalgia thing in the past, but if you grew up on the East Coast. If you grew up watching ACC basketball, if you grew up watching ACC football, this is different than bringing in SMU and Stanford. Now it feels different. This is like an existential threat. And I don't know if the ACC can, I don't know if realistically, they deserve any sympathy because, it's ironic that I sit here saying you don't want to go the way of the Big East. And then I look at the ACC and I go, well, Virginia Tech, Miami, Boston College, Pitt. Oh, yeah, the ACC kind of ruined the Big East. So maybe it's the law of the jungle, right? You keep eating until you're the one getting eaten, but I am worried about the ACC.
Here's always the caveat, though, that teams, yes, can buy their way out. Mm-hmm. Where are they going to go? Other conferences have to say, hey, we want you over here. Someone else has to swipe right on you, too.
I agree, which is, I think, more harrowing for the middle of the pack ACC teams. I think the SEC and the Big Ten will take teams just to destroy the ACC. I think they don't want to have any other power conferences. I think they will take teams just to know it could be a death blow to the Atlantic Coast Conference, but I also don't think they'll take a single one extra. Right? If they think, hey, if we grab Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and UNC, the ACC will die. They're not going to then reach out an olive branch to NC State, Duke, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. They'll just let them hang on the vine. The ACC will be backfilling. They'll be grabbing, the App States of the world probably.
Hey, ECU, let's go.
ECU, Coastal Carolina, and you'll end up somewhere near where the between probably the Big 12 and the Pac-12.
Something also to keep in mind how this impacts schools here in the state of North Carolina, as people on our YouTube see our friend Max sitting next to us. People have to keep in mind when it comes to North Carolina, NC State, ECU App, Charlotte, all these state schools, state-funded schools. is that the legislator here in the state of North Carolina has discussed about take the whoever the head of UNC system has final say on about conference alignment.
True.
Can you move? So it can't be just a North Carolina decision. Big Ten offers you, hey, UNC, come with us. It's not fully UNC's decision. Even though they might have the money to pay their way out, that doesn't necessarily mean that UNC is just going to be able to go do it on their own, because they want to make sure the UNC system, the state of North Carolina, that all their schools are in good position financially. They don't want to leave a big school hanging like NC State or one of these other schools. That is something we have to keep in mind when it comes to the state of North Carolina.
100%. And that's all, being developed within the last couple of years, all of these checks and balances. I am leery, and this is just from where I sit, I am leery if UNC comes in and says, hey, we have a commitment from another conference that will pay us 2 times as much money for our athletics program media deal, that the government will say it's smart for us to say no. I find that difficult to turn down, an additional, 30, 40 million. But if they do, baller, right? Turn down 30 million. I don't know how much you got, but if you're turning it down, it's crazy. So I do, and it's a good point, and it's part of the whole context, is that for a while we've thought that UNC and NC State are kind of holding hands through all of this, and one doesn't leave without the other. If it does look like the ACC is crumbling, I do not think the government will stand in and say, no, you have to stand on this sinking ship with your friend if you have a lifeboat. Say, hey, would we rather have one team that is in a super advantageous situation, or 2 teams that loyally and honorably went down with the ship? But I don't pretend to know how state legislators work. There's others that do a lot more covering of government affairs than I do. I prefer to stay on the X's and O's side of sports, but occasionally you can't help but dabble on this gruesome, logistical paperwork side of things, court systems.